For more than 2000 years, his name has been used as a synonym for debauchery, drunkenness and gluttony. Augustine, Kant and Tolstoy viewed Epicureans with open scorn. And in his Divine Comedy, Dante placed Epicurus and his followers in the sixth circle of hell. All because Epicurus proclaimed pleasure as the chief measure of human life and the principal ethical category.
Therefore, we declare that pleasure is the beginning and the goal of a happy life. For we recognize pleasure as the first good and as inborn. It is from this that we begin every choice and every avoidance.
Students almost never left the philosophical school of Epicurus, known as the Garden. His popularity during his lifetime was immense. This motto hung above the entrance to the school. Anyone who has discussed the meaning of life over the past 2 millennia has, in one way or another, inevitably engaged with Epicurus. In this video I will explain his true views. What is the meaning of life and how to achieve happiness according to Epicurus? Believe me, the answer is not simply summed up by this phrase.
The beginning and root of every good is the pleasure of the stomach. Even wisdom and refinements are referable to this.
Epicurus lived and philosophized during the Hellenistic era. This was the period following the death of Alexander the Great, when his empire fragmented into separate kingdoms. At that time, philosophy ceased to be a civic pursuit and became focused on the inner life of the individual. Ordinary people increasingly felt lost in a vast world and struggled to find ethical principles they could rely on. It can be said that the philosophical schools of the Hellenistic era were, in a sense, schools of psychotherapy. Their purpose was not so much to explain the world, as to make people happy.
We must not think that there is any other aim of knowledge about the heavens, whether considered alongside other doctrines or separately, than peace of mind and unshakable confidence, just as it is our aim in all other pursuits.
In other words, according to Epicurus, the study of celestial phenomena and indeed everything else is necessary only in order to achieve tranquility and serenity. In Epicureanism, this is called ataraxia, that is a state of tranquility, clarity and freedom from anxiety. The ultimate goal of every philosopher is to attain this state. While the Stoics sought to achieve serenity through the ethics of virtue, the Epicureans pursued it through the ethics of sensation.
The perceptions and the feelings, in these there will lie the most reliable certainty.
Epicurus regarded sensations as the primary criterion of truth. If you feel something, then it is real. And this is the single most important thesis of his philosophy.
If you do battle with all your sensations, you will be unable to form a standard for judging even which of them you judge to be false.
The chief merit of sensations is that they cannot be controlled or falsified. They are influenced neither by memory nor by beliefs. If you find fish and wine delicious, there is nothing you can do about it. You will still enjoy them, no matter how much you try to convince yourself that this is an illusion.
Senses are devoid of reason, nor are they capable of receiving any impressions of memory. Moreover, they are out of the reach of any control, for one sensation cannot judge of another which resembles itself, for they have all an equal value.
In general, since sensations are the criterion of truth, it follows that to achieve bliss and happiness, not much is required, only that sensations are always satisfied.
The voice of the flesh cries, "Keep me from hunger, thirst, and cold." The person who has these assurances and expects always to have them would rival even Zeus in happiness.
It is for this very reason that Epicurus and his followers have been accused of unrestrained hedonism for nearly 2000 years. Without engaging with the substance of his philosophy, Anyone wishing to show that Epicureans were no different from pigs and prone to the basest pleasures would cite this passage or something similar. But Epicurus explained many times.
When we say that pleasure is the goal, we are not referring to the pleasure of profligates or that which lies in sensuality, as some ignorant people think, or as those who do not agree with us or have misunderstood our argument believe. Rather, it is freedom from bodily pain and mental anguish.
Epicurus, contrary to popular opinion, had no difficulty subsisting on nothing but bread and water and preferred a conversation with a friend to any sensual entertainment.
Bread and water provide the greatest pleasure when someone in need partakes of them. Of all the things that wisdom provides for living one's entire life in happiness, the greatest by far is the possession of friendship.
If one reads Epicurus attentively, it becomes immediately clear that his philosophy is quite similar to that of the Stoics. He says, to make a person rich, it is not necessary to add money, but to reduce desires. He says that he disregards extravagant pleasures. The only thing that sets him apart from all other philosophers in history is that he placed sensations as the foundation of everything. From this axiom, he derived not only a recipe for a happy life, but also argued for the existence of the gods and offered a cure for the fear of death.
Grow accustomed to the belief that death is nothing to us, since all good and evil lie in sensation. However, death is the deprivation of sensation.
A student of Epicurus named Philodemus, who lived 250 years after him, composed a quatrain that summarizes the entirety of Epicureanism. In his view, these words were a genuine remedy for the soul, freeing one from fear and suffering. Here are those words.
Don't fear God. Don't worry about death. What is good is easy to get, and what is terrible is easy to endure.
As for the meaning of life, like other philosophers of his era, Epicurus did not use this expression. However, after a careful study of his works, this meaning is not difficult to formulate.